What's happening, ladies and gents, and welcome to another installment of You're Wrong, a series by Have a Chat Productions and The Touchline. If you missed last week's episode, make sure you check that out on the Touchline YouTube channel or check it out on the playlist in our description. Now tonight, we go back to the NRL with the question, who is the greatest coach of all time? I have Charbel with me. Charbel, how you doing?
I'm good, Ray. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Good. And next to me, my brother, Joseph. Joe, how you doing?
Doing great. Keen to get into this.
Ready.
All right. Well, boys, it's the greatest coach of all time. Joe, I'm going to start with you, seeing that we're on our channel.
Yeah.
Why is Wayne Bennett the greatest coach of all time?
Alrighty. So we're of course, going to get more into it, but come on. He's the super coach. Wayne Bennett, the super coach. That's all you need to know. Wayne Bennett, he's been doing it for a very long time. He has coached over 900 NRL games, coached a bunch of representative games, so that's taken him over 1,000. But not only has he coached so many, he's won so many. I'll get into the stats later, but he has a very high win percentage. And look, I respect the Ivan Cleary shout. I know you're going to get into your stuff, but he hasn't done much besides the last 5 years. Anyway, Wayne Bennett, the super coach.
All right. Well, he sort of gave it away there, Charbel.
Yeah.
Your choice is Ivan Cleary himself. Why is he the greatest coach of all time?
Well, for me, you just have to look for the last 5 years, man. There's not a lot of coaches out there that can win many premierships. I know Wayne Bennett, you've mentioned, he's won, I'm pretty sure, 6. But to win 4 premierships in a row is just, no coach can do that. Wayne Bennett hasn't done it. Bellamy hasn't done it. It's an impossible. And for him to do it and to make history, that's why, for me, he's the greatest of all time.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, you have joined us for You're Wrong, the series where we try to determine who is wrong in their sporting choice. Let's get started. Round 1, accolades. Now, you cannot talk about the greatest coach of all time without talking about what they have done. Joseph, give me Wayne Bennett's accolades.
Alrighty. So, Wayne Bennett. Look, I know you said Ivan Cleary past 5 years, but got to say it's all time, not greatest of past 5 years. Greatest past 5 years? Yeah, sure, give it to Cleary. But first of all, Wayne Bennett has won 3 Coach of the Year awards. Back in 87 in a rookie year, winning when he coached Canberra Raiders, took them to a grand final, and then won 2 with the Broncos in 2000 and 2015. And then, so he's taken Canberra to a grand final, taken them far. In a rookie year, he won 6 premierships with the Brisbane Broncos in that first stint between 88 and 08. Then he took St. George Illawarra to 1 premiership. Then took Newcastle all the way to a prelim in 2012 to 2014. Broncos taken to another grand final. Didn't win, but taken to another grand final in 2015. Then South Sydney took him to a grand final in 2021. And then the Dolphins, well, did a very good campaign in their first 2 years with only 1 win out from the finals. Look, from what I just mentioned there, Wayne Bennett, he's done a phenomenal job with all the clubs he coached. Every single club besides the Dolphins, which is fair, they've only new, to a grand final, and of course the Knights, but they suck. We don't care about them. Anyway, taking them all to a grand final. Yes, not every team he took won, but he went to 10 grand finals, he won 7. 70%, that's a very good record. Not only his club's coach, though, he's got a lot of representative shouts. Before he even started coaching the NRL, he started coaching for Queensland. In 1986 to 88, he won 2 of the 3 series. In 97 to 98, Queensland, 1 of the 2. Right now, we've already got 66% rate, then 50% rate. He's a winner. Then 01 to 03, he won 1 of the 3, but 1 of them was a draw because that's what happened back then. Then we see him coaching some Australia. He won 1 of the 2 Tri-Nation finals in 04-05. And then he coached the NRL All-Stars for 4 years, only winning 2. That's probably his worst winning percentage. Then he's coached England, went 0 of 3. That's probably his worst coaching, but that's the international stage for you. No one's better than Australia. And then his win-to-loss ratio. So Wayne Bennett, he's coached 936 games of NRL in total. He's won 575, lost 347, and drew 14. That's a 61% win rate. It's more than half of the games he has coached, and they're his accolades.
For a man not named the stat, he sure had a lot of stats. I like to see that the boys have their notes in front of them. Now, give me Ivan Cleary's accolades.
Well, of course, it's not going to be as much as Wayne Bennett, but still, let's look at, first of all, back in 2020 to 2024, he's made 5 grand finals in a row, and I'm pretty sure Wayne Bennett hasn't, during his career reign, made 5 grand finals in a row. And for me, that's, again, showing why he's probably the GOAT to make that amount of grand finals in a space of 5 years. So, yes, 2020, he didn't win a grand final, but he versed an incredible Melbourne side that, again, probably they were the favourites to win it that year. 2021 to 2024, like I mentioned before, was the year they got the 4P, and that's an incredible achievement. Just what he's done for that Panthers squad during that year, what he's been able to produce, the attacking style, the defensive coaching style, what he's implemented has been just incredible. 2011 grand final appearance for the New Zealand Warriors, where during that year, I'm pretty sure Sean Johnson returned round 13, was his debut, and think about it, if he was there for the majority of the season, who knows what could have happened during that season. 2014, 2020, he was the coach of the year. So, yeah, like it's not the biggest, like I mentioned, about Wayne Bennett, but still, Ivan Cleary, for me, in the space of 5 years, I just feel there's something about him that just attracts me, and I'm pretty sure many fans out there that he's just the GOAT of the NRL.
Listen, you are underselling yourself a little bit there. For 5 years, they are some accolades. They are some wins. They are some runs on the board. But then you got longevity over here with Wayne Bennett. So, ladies and gents, round 1 is done. Who do you think won that? Make sure you comment below. With round 1 done, we now hit round 2. Now, accolades are one thing, but what's their impact on the game? We have Ivan Cleary to start off with his short stint in the coach's seat. How's he done with impact on the game?
Well, first of all, you look at what he's done. Again, the 5 years is where his career has all started and where he's been producing a lot. Look at his defensive system. A lot of clubs have been looking at the way Panthers play defensively and attacking, like I've said. Defensively, you look at Bulldogs and Warriors. They've implemented that style that Ivan Cleary has produced at Panthers because, of course, Serraldo and Webster leaving the club from Panthers. They've got that experience, and already that's the impact they've had from learning from Ivan Cleary. So that defensive style, not only for the Bulldogs and that, but you can see teams are relying on the defense because a defense is what wins you titles, and we could see that from Panthers. Not only that, he's defensive, but he's a coach that gives the youth academy the chance to shine. You look at McLean, where he's played a few games during the season last year, and he destroyed, and you can see the impact and that confidence Ivan Cleary has given him during that reign. You look at Taylor May, you got Taruva and Maverick Gaia, who have been a major part for the last 2 to 3 years. Taylor May, yes, he's had his incidents, but during his his reign as a player for Panthers for the last 2 years, he's been a phenomenal player. Taruva heading off to the Tigers, but he was crucial to the way Panthers played in 2023 and 2024. And Maverick Gaia, he's just a debut this year, but what he's shown this year has been incredible. And just you can see the clubs you can see Bulldogs the last 2-3 years. You look at Raiders, you can see those teams that are trying to get the kids involved more in the game to get that confidence, get that confidence that can help them make their NRL career start. You look at also clubs also wanting, like I mentioned about Webster and Serraldo, you don't see many assistant coaches leaving the club like Panthers in the same year to go start their own coaching career in Warriors and Bulldogs. Wayne Bennett probably didn't have assistant coach that left, and you can just see that regardless of Serraldo and Webster leaving, he's still performing. He's still getting the team to play the way they want to be. And he's just been such a successful guy, successful coach. And I still think that potentially next year they could win another 5P. And for me, if they were to win it next year, that will just sum it up and that will just make him the GOAT of the game.
Well, there's a reason people call it Penrith Rugby League. I mean, they're all over the game, but you got to tell me, with Bennett's longevity comes a massive impact.
Bennett's longevity, it's right, has a massive impact. His footy IQ is next to none. When he started out the Dolphins, I don't know if you watched it, but there was a documentary over on Stan where it highlighted the whole process of a new NRL team coming into the league and everything. Bennett, for as old as he is, he's still very smart. He's still very much there, and he just knows what he's doing. And funny enough, you said Bennett didn't have a assistant coach to leave and be successful. Well, you have Bennett. Bennett, no. You have Bennett, yes, but you have Bellamy. He worked under Bennett for 1 year back at during the Broncos run in the early 2000s. And look at the Storm gone from there. Bellamy has taken that Storm team and I've barely missed the finals since he has coached. I think that's one of the biggest impacts there. Bellamy learnt from Bennett. And look, let's be real, a lot of the time it's been Bellamy versus Bennett when it comes to this debate before recent times with Ivan Cleary coming to the fray. But Bennett's IQ, next to none. He's also just been able to have the players around him understand football, understand the discipline they need to have in the game. Like, you see it. South Sydney, they were on the up and up when he was there. He leaves, just go downhill. They had a bunch of off-season things. And everything just went wrong to them coming 14th, to them rushing back, being like, can you please coach us again? They sign him back for the 2025 season when they're like, no, we've got a replacement of you with Jason Demetrio. We like him. We don't need you anymore. And look what happened. They came running back. At the end of the day, people keep running back to Bennett. Broncos did it, and South's done it. The NRL entrusted Bennett, out of all coaches that were available, entrusted Bennett in taking a new side to start off a league. And I remember hearing, I don't know if this is happening anymore, but I remember hearing back then when they started a new side, when the 18th team was going to come in, they wanted to try get Bennett. They love his IQ. They love what he can do to a new team, and that's his impact. He just knows how to coach. He's got that footy IQ and the longevity with it. I don't know what else you can say. It's the all-time. Don't forget, not past 5 years.
It's IQ versus programming. Ladies and gents, make sure you let us know who won round 2. Is it Bennett or is it Cleary? And finally, it's round number 3. We've spoken about accolades. We've spoken about impact. Let's talk about what the people around the grounds are talking about. Joseph, tell us what the peers have been saying about Bennett.
Well, I think it comes back to what I've been saying earlier. He's got that footy IQ. They love working with him. They love his IQ. They love what he can bring to the team. And look, I want to go to some of the people he's worked with, whether it's been as coaching or as players, and look where they went in their career. And I think that just sums it up. So, as I mentioned earlier, you got Craig Bellamy. First off, he coached him in that 87 Raiders team, and that Raiders team made a grand final. Yes, they didn't win, but that was his rookie year. But he's also been an assistant coach to Bennett. And as I've said, look at the Storm now. He went over to Storm, and Storm have been successful ever since. I don't think I've ever seen the Storm out of the finals unless it's for the salary cap.
So are you accrediting the Storm's success to Bennett?
Bennett definitely would have given Bellamy some pointers as he was coaching there. And then, look, you've got Lockyer. He was probably one of the biggest players for the Broncos in the early 2000s, and that comes to Bennett. Bennett was smart enough to move him from fullback to 5'8", and let's be real, he succeeded in both of those positions. He won a number of games and killed it at fullback, but he also became a better player once he got older at 5'8". So you look at these people he's been working with, he knows when they need to move on or when they need to just move somewhere else to further their career. But then you also have a player that loves the coach, where they will follow him no matter what. Darius Boyd. He followed him no matter where he went. From 2006 to 2014, when Bennett was on the move, Boyd was on the move. So that started off at Broncos, that early stint there. Then he went to Dragons with him, and then he went to Knights with him. And then he stayed at Knights and went back to Broncos, but that was after Bennett was gone. And look, I want to mention this player. He didn't play long under Bennett, only 3 years, but I think he did help further his game for at least a couple years, and I don't think it's hard to mention, but Ben Hunt. That 2015 season, yes, he dropped the ball in the grand final, cost their team the premiership, but he was one cracker player under his first year with Bennett. If he spent more years with Bennett, it would have furthered his IQ, furthered his game, and look, he's arguably one of the most sought out players right now. Where's he going next? Where is he going to head off to? And that's because of how good of a player he is. Yes, he had a bit of a downside at the Dragons, but a new club, new shine, gives him a fresh start, will give him a way of
Look,
going.
I feel about Bennett, I feel personally that when he's coached the club, I think he's already had established players. Okay, credit to Darren Lockyer. I think he was the one that built him to become the player he was. But I feel Ben Hunt was established already as a player during his early days. You look at Darius Boyd was growing into a player before when Bennett was around. So I feel compared to Ivan Cleary before when I get into it later on, Ivan Cleary had to build his team where I feel Bennett had already a team where he can work with as opposed to Ivan Cleary.
So you saying that Bennett was working with players that were already built, established?
Some players I feel like in key positions, like for example Ben Hunt, I feel he was not the greatest player, but I think he already had a name and he was becoming the player to it was, and all he needed was Wayne Bennett to be that coach and that supervisor to help him to be the player he is.
There you go. He needed Bennett to become that player that he needed to become. That's the thing. Bennett brings it out of him. He brings out the best of every player. Look at the Hammer. Hammer was good at Cowboys. Don't get me wrong. He was good. Never got the playing time, which I understand. But ever since he went to Dolphins, he became the face of the Dolphins. He did his phenomenal celebration every time he scored a try. And Bennett has brought out the most of him. And look, I honestly think Dolphins are going to start going downhill without Bennett. That is a major loss for the Dolphins. And I know they've been scarred by injuries, which is why they never actually made a finals in the 2 years. Because I believe they would have made it year one if they had depth. Because their depth screwed them over once Sean O'Sullivan went down in year one and they just started going downhill. Last year, they were average, but they could have made it, but they didn't. But what I'm trying to say is Bennett, he brings out the best of people, as you said, and he's had a lot of experience, a lot of time in the game, and a lot of people want to play under him.
I think with the Hammer, the one you were talking about, I feel at Cowboys, I think it was harshly done. I think he was performing well at Cowboys. And I think, of course, Dolphins, he's reached another level, but I feel Cowboys, he was still playing the way he has been at Dolphins. I just feel, for some reason, I think Cowboys were going through a tough period where I think they had to just get players out of the club, maybe due to issues. I'm not sure. The performances from Cowboys wasn't the best, and I think Hammer was just scapegoated, and they just took him out of the club for no reason.
Oh, for sure, but then again, Bennett saw what Hammer could do, and he helped him with that. Hammer, under Bennett, got into rep side. He got into the Queensland team nearly yearly and has become the face of the Dolphins. That's the thing. Bennett has helped him grow. It wasn't just he stayed there. He has grown into the player. He can play multiple positions. He's played fullback, he's played center, he's played wing. He's been able to grow in that game under Bennett because of his IQ.
All right, so we've spoken about Wayne Bennett and who he has formed, the teams he has made, the people that have worked under him and with him. Let's talk about Cleary. What's Cleary done with his teams that has truly stood out?
Well, I'm always going to refer to the 4P, the 5 in a row grand final appearances. I feel Wayne Bennett, he's coached some incredible players, fantastic players, but has he coached the greatest players? You look at Nathan Cleary, he's potentially, probably for me, the best player ever in the game. In his position, Brian To'o, in the next 5 to 10 years, he's going to be the best winger of all time. The stats he's pulling up, the performances he does, he's such a consistent player. Isaiah Yeo, he's going to be probably the lock of the NRL of all time. He's producing players, not only Nathan Cleary, but in certain positions, he's created and he's developed players to be the greatest player in their position. And that's something, Wayne Bennett, I feel the only player he's really been able to develop is Darren Lockyer, in my opinion. He's one of the greatest as well of all time.
So hold on, are you saying that Bennett cannot develop players besides Lockyer?
No. What I can say is that Lockyer he's produced fantastic players, and I still think he can. But out of all the players he's coached, I just feel Lockyer is the only one that is the standout and is like considered world class and probably immortality one day. But the other players like Ben Hunt, he's really not going to be an immortal player. Alex Johnson, he's developing him as a good winger, but is he one of the greatest of all time? Probably not. But just in regards to that, I just feel Brian To'o, Isaiah Yeo, you've got Nathan Cleary, just these, even Stephen Crichton we're forgetting. What he's brought to Bulldogs, that leadership is all because of the system he's implemented at Panthers. And he's going to be, hopefully one day, the greatest centre of all time. And that's something that I've admired about Nathan Cleary, is that he's able to get the players reach their ability, reach their potential, and become the best in their position.
But what about, I know you like touching on the past 5 years, but what about beforehand? He coached Penrith beforehand. They that successful. And he also coached the Tigers, which was but the Tigers are a basket case of a club. But where has he developed people then? There's nothing there. Only the past 5 years after the help from Gould building up the juniors and bringing in those players that you mentioned from the ground up. Same as Bulldogs. Gould's coming to the Bulldogs, starting to grow their juniors and grow their players. So I reckon Gould has had a hand in what Cleary has been able to do, and it's brought that out.
Yes, Phil Gould has, of course, you give him all the credit because he's the one that has implemented this style and this new system. But it's all about making sure that right coach is willing to make that sacrifice and go with the system. Because there's a lot of stubborn coaches out there. Look at Des Hasler. Personally, I don't think he would agree to those terms of Gould. Building up the youth, getting the kids the opportunity to play, where it's always getting the right coach that can really listen to what the boss has to say of Phil Gould and agreeing to the terms. And you talk about the last 5 years, that's the only place he's produced. Look at Sean Johnson back in 2011. That was his debut season. That's the year where Ivan Cleary left the club. And look at Sean Johnson. From that year, he's been probably one of the best halfbacks in the last decade. He's produced incredible moments. And for Ivan Cleary trusting in Sean Johnson, that just shows the type of coach he is. And if it wasn't for him, we would have not seen Sean Johnson for the last 10 years. He would have not been the player he is today because of Ivan Cleary. So he's produced many players, and Sean Johnson is a great example as well back in 2011.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it has heated up and the arguments have been deep, but the show is called You're Wrong. So we're going to give both of our contestants 30 seconds to prove why the other man is wrong. Joseph, we're starting off with you. You got 30 seconds. Tell us why Ivan Cleary is the wrong choice for the greatest coach of all time.
You've mentioned it a lot throughout your time as arguing, but 5 years, that's not all time. Cleary, took him 14 years to make a grand final in his whole coaching career. It's a long time. Considering he coached Penrith for a bunch, had a stint at Tigers and then back to Penrith. It was only that time he went back to Penrith in 2020, the start of the Dynasty Panthers, to get that grand final approach. Also, Cleary has not coached a representative side besides
time.
I feel like
You had 30 seconds, mate.
Okay.
Tell us why he's wrong.
Okay, you're wrong, Joseph, is because I always mention this. The 4P is the best thing in history of NRL competition. Wayne Bennett has done back-to-back, but can he do a 4P? Probably not, because it's called the impossible. I like what Wayne Bennett has done. He's a great coach, but I just don't think he's a better coach than Ivan Cleary, especially what he's done in the last 5 years.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the boys have had their say. Now it is your say. Who is the greatest coach of all time? Who is wrong? You let us know, comment below, tell us who you think the greatest coach is of all time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the Touchline, because the next episode is showing up over there. We'll see you next time.